So, I never thought I'd say that one day, but here we are. I did enjoy naval battles.
You're mad.
During the 11th anniversary came the limited time game mode Battle of the Atlantic, introducing submarines to ship combat in an objective-based game mode. The Americans must escort their convoy from one side of the map to another, and the Germans must sink said convoys while playing as submarine. I have to admit, I had a blast in this game mode, especially when playing as a submarine. Naval battles were never my thing. Despite trying multiple times at various BRs, I've always found that the most were lacking something to make them fun to play. Note that this is only my personal opinion, many players like Naval and good for them. Plus the repair costs in Naval are outrageously high when you reach 5.0 and more, and overall the mode feels very difficult to approach as a beginner. That's why I think the Battle of the Atlantic is a golden mine when it comes to attracting new players to naval battle. If someone like me, who doesn't like the traditional ship-to-ship combat, has fallen in love with subs, I'm sure others will feel the same. Gaijin managed to make ships-to-sub combat pretty good, and even if it could benefit from having a few balance changes, I think submarines weren't overpowered in this game mode. Quite the contrary, in fact. You were fragile, not very maneuverable, very visible, but extremely deadly when left unchecked. This mode made you rethink who was the hunter and who was the prey. Of course, subs were having a much harder time, mostly because the entire enemy team could only play ships designed to hunt submarines, and that makes me even more curious to see how subs would perform in a regular game not only filled with destroyers and light cruisers, but also with battleships, which could be very juicy targets to hunt. Now, when it comes to balancing, I think one or two things could use a few tweaks. First of all, you need to have an indicator telling you when you are too deep in the water. Technically in the event you had 3 depth levels: normal, dangerous and critical. At normal depth, nothing major changes. At dangerous depth, which is around 50 plus meters underwater, you should be undetectable if staying still, and you shouldn't be allowed to stay like this indefinitely. That doesn't mean that this level should kill you if you stay in it for too long, but it could force you to surface, punishing you if you abuse it too much. Finally, I didn't see the point of going to critical depth during my games unless you wanted to suicide immediately. You could already dodge most threats by going at dangerous levels anyway. For destroyers now, I found it very easy to sink submarines, mostly due to the fact that they were always visible. You didn't need to anticipate where they were going, and since the event was using arcade mode rules, you could spam depth charges knowing that they would replenish shortly after. I think the sonar should be an ability, on cooldown, for destroyers and not a passive ability. If you believe a sub is nearby, activate your sonar, which lasts, I don't know, a minute for example, with a 30-second cooldown, and that should be more than enough for you to play cat and mouse with your target. When it comes to planes, they were completely busted in the event.
What a surprise!
Two planes, both using 500-pound bombs, could literally destroy the entire enemy team since they had the benefit of replenishing their bombs in the air. Now, here we need to put things back into perspective once again. There was no anti-air to deal with them. Subs could surface to shoot planes, but it would lead to destroyers blasting them in return, so there was no point in doing that. In a regular match, I expect both teams to have surface vessels equipped with anti-air, reducing the threat from the skies, and that leads me to the final question that I have regarding subs. Do they need a dedicated game mode? If they are added, like any other ship, I struggle to imagine sub-to-sub combat or what would happen if half of each team is playing submarine. At the same time, I don't really want submarines to face the same treatment as planes in ground RB, for example. I don't want them to be locked behind a certain amount of points before I could spawn in one. That's why a dedicated game mode with specific rules could solve those issues by adding a limit of submarines per game or something of the sort. Overall, Gaijin still has a lot of work to do if they want to add subs in a healthy way to the game, but they have my trust and my hopes. If the final gameplay is as immersive as the event, with all the incredible sound effects when you are underwater, that oppressive feeling of being hunted all the time, and the complexity of their stealth mechanic, then I'd definitely start playing more naval battles. So Gaijin, if you listen to this, please make this cookie happy and don't mess it up. Anyway, that's it for this one. Don't hesitate to let me know what you think of submarines, especially if you are someone who is allergic to naval. I'd be very curious to learn about your opinion on this matter. So thank you for watching, and I will see you soon.